These meetings make me very excited because we started this about 3 years ago, because when we first went through the reorganization, there was so much misinformation flying around. People didn't know what was going on. They thought Metro was coming in and taking it over. They thought just all kinds of crazy stuff. And we thought, going forward, one of the things that's very, very important to us is that all the people that are part of this organization, in whatever capacity, know and understand what's going on. That there's no kind of myths running around, rumors running around, that they can come and they have a forum to ask their questions they want to ask and find the information out that affects them. So we did the first one, and at that meeting, I think we had about 20 people, and everybody was mad and everybody was yelling at me. And it was fine, and I said, thank you, Patricio, and I will see you in 6 months when we do this again. And we did it in 6 months, and we had 25 more people, and only half of them yelled at me that time. And I said, thank you, Patricio, we'll see you in 6 months, we'll do this again. And after that, we met some of the needs, and we had about 25 to 30 people at that meeting, and nobody yelled at me. Okay, and we've decided that it's important that every 6 months we do this. It's healthy for the organization, it instills a sense of community, and it allows us to move forward. So I thank all of you being a part of it. Part of the things that I like to do at this, and I take this from my community meetings, is we all work on our different shows here, we all work in different capacities here, but we're all so busy that sometimes we don't know who somebody is or exactly what they do or what their name is even. And so it's nice to be able to put a name with that face. So I always like to take a moment to go around the room and allow everybody just a second to introduce themselves. And then I'm going to introduce the new officers to you, and then we'll get right on rolling. So if we start right here. And that's our board. And since I only got the microphone maybe one or two more times, I'm going to go ahead and use it to say that I'm very happy to see you folks from NMPS here. You guys are very near and dear to my heart, and I've always felt that this the resources here was something that could use to be promote the wonderful work that you guys are doing in the school. So I'm very happy to see MNPS at this meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance. One of the things when we decided on the reorganizing, and once we started moving through the reorganization, one of the things that we said that we identified as being very important is that the organization never became static, that it always kind of evolved, that it didn't become just one person's vision or even just one or two people's vision. It was very, very important that it continued to grow and take on new forms that reflected the visions of the individual members. And I'm very excited to say that we continue to doing with that. I'm going to let Joel's going to introduce Trish, who's our new director, in a little bit here. But there's a lot of new blood that's coming into this organization, and we think that's very, very important. It's a sign of a very healthy organization. Too often people try to join organizations, and people have been in the same positions for 10, 15 years, and they have a hard time joining in. We want to make sure that we have the ability to welcome new people and that we're constantly moving forward. And that's why we're very, very, very excited to have Mary here with us. Mary's coming in for Michael O'Rear. Michael O'Rear was representative for Metro for a lot of years through the reorganization, and we're very grateful for his help. We also have all new board members. And I'm going to introduce the board members to you. Mark Miller is the new treasurer. Mark is unfortunately not here today, as Mark is also an accountant for Vanderbilt Hospital. And if you've been looking at the newspaper, you do know that is a challenging job these days. So he is tied up with some meetings there, but he's very excited to move into a leadership role with NECAT. We're also very excited to have Susan Seagill is going to be our new co-chairperson or vice chairperson. She brings a whole lot of energy. Anybody who's ever had a chance to talk to Susan knows that she is what we like to call in the business a go-getter. She gets things done, and we're excited about that. And then moving on up and taking it on over is, I always got to tell this part. When we started this reorganization 4 to 5 years ago, accountants would look at our books and cry. Or they would laugh, and they would cry some more, and then laugh some more. Joel Sullivan, along with Kim Hayes, who was the previous director here, who we all loved a great deal, and we're very happy, cleaned it all up. They fixed it all. They made it look good. I'll let Joel tell you about our latest audit. Looks like another unqualified. It makes three in a row. And it's just natural that it's his turn to take over the leadership of the organization. Please welcome Joel Sullivan.
Thank you, TC. Apparently TC's taller than I am. TC, come back up for just a moment, please. I have official documentation here that says since October 2008, you have been involved with MEAC, which was the Metropolitan Education Access Corporation.
Has it been that long?
It went by fast, didn't it?
Some days.
And you've been with us since 2008, so that's about 5 years if I do the math correctly. And TC has led us through a very tumultuous time. He alluded to it, and I'm going to pay him homage for it, because taking one station, 19, and merging it with 9 and 10 was no easy task, and most of the faces in this room went through it with us. But with TC's leadership, we are much better today than we were yesterday, and we were in 2008. So thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And please give TC a big hand. It's actually an honor and a privilege for me to serve in NECAT. It's been an interesting ride. I've been here probably about 4 or 5 years. Came on the board right before we went through the transition, and I remember the pain in people's faces of what are we doing, where are we going, where's the money, who's going to take what, who's going to do what. I remember going through the procedures process of writing rules and kind of regulations and policies and procedures that we had that we lacked, which created a lot of confusion. And I think today we are a much better organization because it's not an organization run at the whim of whoever happened to be speaking that day. It's an organization that is run with thought, with a process, and with documentation that everybody can look at and say, no, wait a minute, this is what the rules are. And that allows us to be consistent and fair. In most any organization, that's all people really want, just be fair and consistent. And I think the group in here that would appreciate that most is the producer. And so if all the producers will raise their hands, I hope, let's give you some recognition for the hard work that you do. I also like to recognize Cesar Moedas, did I say that properly, or close anyway? Who's on the Cable Access Television Board, and Bob Took introduced himself as well. We appreciate your support because we are governed by you and your board. So thank you for visiting with us tonight. We also have Keith Durbin, who is over the IT&S department for Metro. Thank you for your support. And I didn't see any other government officials walk in, so I want to make sure I recognized everybody. We had, when we started the NECAT, when I first walked in this room, we had a building full of stuff along the walls, and I couldn't even tell you what it was. I know it was racks full of stuff. We had equipment that wasn't working, lights that were out, and you guys still managed to do the job. That was an inspiration to me, because if they can do it with this, imagine what they can do with the right things at the right time in the right place. And I'm not going to spoil any excitement that's coming up, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you're going to be really excited here in about 30 minutes or less when you hear about what's coming down the pike. And the reason some of this equipment's coming down the pike is because we have been funded through Comcast. Comcast in their bill has a fee. It's I think it's like 5 cents or something, and it goes into an account, and we receive that. And then NECAT gets a portion of those funds, and we've used it for operations and equipment. With Comcast's most recent agreement with Metropolitan Nashville government, they have said, we're going to give you this money, but you cannot use it for operations. You have to use it for equipment. Well, on one side, I want to do Happy Hands Jazz Fingers because that's awesome, because I think nobody would raise their hand if I said, are you happy with the equipment we have today? So that's the exciting part. The not so exciting part is we now have to raise money from the community to pay for the operations side of it, which would be Trish and Jeremy and snacks and electricity and the other things that we have to do, tapes and other expendables that we have in the organization. So what I have to invite you to do is join us. We've been on this mission for about 3 years, knowing that someday we would have to stand on our own from an operations standpoint. And so we've looked out to the community for donors. And what does the community look for in a donor? And if you'll remember, I don't believe it was the last session, but the session before, we had the beautiful hidden green screen. It's hidden right now, but there's a green screen under there. And we didn't have the software to buy it. I mean, we had the green screen, but we didn't have the sets. And you guys who are in the business know what I'm talking about. So we made the challenge. If you guys will raise half the money, we'll raise the other half. And in that event, you guys raised all of it. And we matched all of it. That's what teamwork's all about. I don't know who knows the acronym TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. We did it. Now we, as a group, have to go shout it out on the mountain. We need donors, your companies, the school systems. Everybody has the opportunity to use these facilities. And we need to make sure they know about it, because right now we're kind of a secret. They watch us on TV, but they don't understand what really goes on. So I want to invite you to tell the story. And if somebody says, yeah, I'd like to know more, let Trish know. Let the board know. We'll go handle it. We'll take care of it. Because the one thing we have to guarantee is the opportunity stays here. And we have to guarantee that the opportunity is an us, not a we or a you or an I. So any help you can provide us in that area, we would be more than welcome to receive. So that's the change in funding. The new horizon, there are great things on the horizon for this organization. We've got a great history, and we've got a great future. I want to personally thank John, because he's the one that has to calm me down when I see our reports and like, well, why do we do this? Why are we doing this? And I'm sure he sits there on his computer or the phone and goes, oh, God, I got to explain this to him. But let me tell you what it does for me. It proved to me that I really didn't know what was going on in the studio and what you guys do. So, John, I believe it was about a month ago, I took the technical class. So now I can join Mike and Cameron. I know how to run the camera now. I can play with the mixer, or operate the mixer board. It's not playing with the mixer board. The lights, I know how to flip switches. They won't let me on the ladder, but I'm learning. So, and I hope to get, I teach a class on Monday night, so I can't do the producer's class now, but I'll be in that soon, because I too would like to join the ranks of you. And that's what we call a team. Everybody gets involved in the program. So if you haven't taken a class for anybody in this room, just take it for the fun of it. It's very interesting. John's an excellent teacher, and you learn a lot. Now I'm criticizing people on TV. I'm like, ooh, they're out of the third. They're out of the square. Yeah, it's not in the box thingy. So I'm still getting the terminology down, but I'm a photographer for fun, so I've learned what backlight, fill light, and which one did I leave out? Spot? 3 different lights. So those are the things that you learn. So I invite you to stick with, come in and learn those things. I would also like to share a little bit about our hiring process. Who all in the room hires people? I would venture to say everybody in this room hires people, because you're working on a show and you have volunteers or other folks that join you for the production. And you know the importance of having the right person at the right time, doing the right thing in the right chair. Now, we had the opportunity, not that we were happy about it, but Kim had a new opportunity that she decided to take, which left a vacancy in Kim's chair. Big shoes to fill. So the board promptly got to work on what is the job description, what are our needs. Things have changed a little bit. Our needs last year and the last few years are not the needs of our future. So we created the job description and decided who do we need and what do they need to do and how does it look. We got that done. We promptly put it out onto the social sphere and got many resumes. Now, what does it tell you about an organization when they hear that the leader's spot is open and you get a ton of resumes in? We must be doing something right. And we were. So we prayed about it, studied on it, looked at a bunch of resumes, and we got a resume that had somebody, and we knew fundraising is a very important part of our future, but we also knew they needed to know something about what you do. So that's a hard order to fill, and this resume came in, Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations for the Nature Conservancy, which is a statewide organization for Tennessee and a worldwide organization. So that was pretty good. Created and managed corporate councils and events, created and managed portfolios of corporate and foundation fundraising, which is a great word. She also had the opportunity to be the Associate Director of Philanthropy, which means she knew how to raise money. She was the Director of Education at Hands On Nashville. Who's participated in a HON event, Hands On Nashville event? So you know that's a large undertaking. In fact, just this past weekend, I believe it was Saturday, they had the largest volunteer group ever for Hands On Nashville. Participating in cleaning up, I believe, the schools, if I'm not mistaken, helping paint and fix and do things. So how thrilling to have somebody who understands education and volunteerism, because we need to engage volunteers as well, not only on the television side, but on the office side. She was the program director for Governor's Books from Birth Foundation, so she understands writing. And she's the owner and artistic director of Rhubarb Theater Company. So here we have somebody who knows education, who knows how to write books, who knows how to do books for children for the governor, who has worked with the Tennessee Nature Conservancy in raising money and understands theater and the operations and actually knows the words I don't know about this room. And we had other candidates that were equally qualified, but we decided that Trish Christ was our leader, and she graciously accepted our offer. And tonight I want to have a warm welcome applause to introduce Trish Christ as our executive director and leader on the day-to-day basis. Thank you, Trish.
Thanks, everybody. Wow. Okay, this is my first one. Here we are, community meeting. Am I too short? I'm never short in front of a microphone. That's better. So a couple of things I want to say to these guys behind me before I say some stuff to you. Thank you guys very, very much for trusting me with the leadership spot here. Thank you, TC, for the long-distance phone interview that we did. I greatly appreciate that. And though you've only known me for 8 weeks, where are you now, TC? There you are. There you are. Musical chairs behind me. Though you've only known me for 8 weeks, I think you probably have already picked up on the fact that I will do almost everything you ask of me. So when you said, don't thank me publicly in front of the group, well, dude, I'm thanking you publicly in front of the group. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you for trusting me with the leadership here. So some comments about how things are going to change here. Joel touched on it. I don't want you to be afraid about the money stuff, but yeah, the money stuff has changed significantly. Funding that we traditionally have been able to spend on anything that NECAT needs to do what NECAT does now is restricted to capital expenses, stuff like the fancy new equipment and toys that John is going to talk about here in a minute. The other funds that we need to do the day-to-day things that we do here, that's on me to go and find that. And I want to say, don't worry. I know how to do that. Got a plan. The board signed off on my plan. We're implementing the plan. I am not worried in the midterm or the long term. My only concern is in the short term. That's the biggest hurdle we have to get over, is getting the Nashville business community comfortable with the idea of, oh, right, NECAT, I know what they do. Sure, I want to put some money behind that. So bear with me in the short term while I climb this first hurdle for us, and I think we'll be just fine midterm and long term. I won't go too deep into the money plan, but there are essentially 3 buckets that I'm looking for. Corporate money, foundation money like a grant, and then the smallest bucket, but it's still an important bucket of money, is the money that we make from your class fees and your membership fees, that sort of thing. So Jeremy and I cooked up a plan earlier this week with the Metro Nashville Arts Commission as part of their Arttober celebration for the month of October. They partner with all manner of arts organizations in the city, and they ask those orgs to give some sort of special discount or some sort of special thing for the month of October. And so this is what relates to you guys. It's the perfect chance to build your crew, to get more technicians. Instead of it being $50 per person to take the level 1 class, it's a 2-for-1 deal. So 2 people can take production level 1 that Joel took last week and that I took a month ago. 2 people can take that class for $50. if they purchase their ticket in October, their ticket, like it's a show, their class fee, their registration, in the month of October, and if they use it by New Year's Eve. So that's good news, right? I want to say a little bit about how my role is different from Kim's and how that affects Jeremy. So I think, and I've sort of been in the NECAT family for the last 4 or 5 years here. As Joel mentioned, I own Rhubarb Theater Company, and my original plays have run on Channel 9 for about 5 years now. So I've been in and out of the building over time. And my perception is that Kim and Jeremy pretty much shared a similar workload in that they both helped you guys. They were both more involved in the day-to-day making of shows. That's going to be a little bit different because I got to go out and find the money. So I may physically be in the building less than you are accustomed to, but I don't want you to think I'm at home watching Oprah. I'm out in the world shaking hands with corporate partners, trying to get us some solid financial friends out there. So that is my main focus. Also, unlike Kim, I live here in Nashville. Kim had a giant commute, you may or may not know, from Columbia every day. So she staggered her work day to start and end after both rush hours. I, on the other hand, I'm a crack of dawn kind of girl. I'm out doing my stuff early and often in a theater at night. So if you don't see me around, don't be alarmed that I'm not doing what you need me to do. I am. So how does that affect Jeremy? Well, as if his plate wasn't already full of enough tasks to do, much of Kim's former tasks have now been shifted to Jeremy. So his role here as sort of an administrator is growing exponentially. And I want to ask for your help in this because Jeremy comes early, he stays late. You guys know he's going 90 to nothing from the time he walks in the door until the time he leaves. And I can tell you, because we share email at night, he's still working when he goes home because he cares about this place. And I think it's obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Every single person in this room loves Jeremy Bills. I mean, come on. We do. And I've only known him 8 weeks, but my addiction began day one. So I'm going to ask for your help in understanding how Jeremy's to-do list is probably 20 times longer than it has traditionally been. And I know you guys consider him a friend, and I know he is a friend to all of you, not just a colleague. If you need his help with something, kind of be mindful of how much of his time that you're taking, or if you need to call him for help, maybe ask if he's in the middle of something, is now a good time for me? Should I do this via email? What's the best way for us to work together on this? That would be very helpful for him and for me, because ultimately I'm pushing a lot of important stuff to him. What else did I want to say? Oh, 2 things that we didn't say early on, maybe because I had neglected to tell TC. We actually have a new board secretary too, and that is David Wicker, who's a big deal on Twitter. You may have heard. And then our last board member, Celeste Wilson, entered after I did the howdy do from everybody. So that's what I'm going to end with. Feel free to call on me with ideas or questions. Send me good mojo while I'm out in the world looking for money for us. And sign up your friends in the 2-for-1 Arttober deal. Jeremy has flyers, and we can also email them to you if that's helpful. With that, John Ferguson, my friend, come up here and tell us about all the new toys we're getting.
Thank you, Trish. Hi, my name is John Ferguson, and I have the fun task of explaining a lot of the equipment upgrades we're going to be making in the next couple months. I'm going to touch on a lot of the bullet points. If anybody has any questions afterwards, we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. I think we'll hold all questions till the end. Obviously, we have a lot of equipment that we've purchased, and so my job is to create a plan for installation and for training. Obviously, we can't just get it all and install it all at once. It needs to take, we have time to install it, time to get you guys trained, get us trained. And so I'm going to go over kind of some of the plan for that. And obviously, there's a much bigger plan, but this is kind of the abbreviated version. Questions till the end, please. Okay. So first thing, I'm just going to go over kind of all the projects that we have that we have in store for this studio. The first project is the broadcast project. This is probably not going to really relate to a lot of you guys directly, but it will relate to you guys indirectly. This is kind of our broadcast side for the Metro employees, what we have to deal with to get your shows actually on the air. The studio lighting, obviously, the studio lighting that we currently have, one of the big problems with it is not dim. And so that's kind of the goal with this new studio lighting, is to get something dimmable and to get something a little bit more up to date as far as technology is concerned. And this, number 3, is kind of the big one, studio equipment. This is going to cover a new video switcher, new cameras, new microphones. The idea here is to get us to a digital system. Right now, obviously, all of our equipment is analog. Upgrading to a digital system is going to increase in workflow and also increase in quality of productions. Studio and audio monitoring system. Obviously, you see the monitors that we have, the TV and audio monitors we have over the corner. Because I didn't want to take up space, we didn't pull those out, and I'm sure a lot of you guys don't really pull those out a lot of times for your shows. What we're planning on doing is mounting both the video and audio monitors on the grid up above, so that we kind of get those out of the way, yet they still can be used for productions. The digital sign, and this one's not going to relate to you too much. However, every single time you come in, you'll have to use a digital system instead of a pad and pen. This is going to help us out on the administrative side, because we're going to be able to track when and at what time of the day are the busiest times, so that we can kind of serve the need of the studio better than what it is right now. Whereas because it's an analog, pencil and pen type of system, it's difficult to really track it as much as we'd like to. So this system is kind of in place so that we can do a little bit more analytics as far as the sign system is concerned. And the last system is the editing software. We're upgrading to Sony Vegas 12. For those of you who have taken the editing class with Mario, who does a great job, he's currently doing Sony Vegas 10, which obviously there are a lot of improvements. I'll talk about a few of those once we get to that. Okay, so number 1, broadcast project. Just talk a little bit about this. Again, there's going to be no studio broadcast downtime. That's kind of important for you guys to know. No time will be lost with the broadcast, so you don't have to worry about that. We are using the Tightrope broadcast system, which is the exact same system that Metro 3 currently uses. So it's a little bit more up to date. Obviously, it's has a couple more features as far as broadcast is concerned. Scheduling, which a lot of you guys is not going to really affect you directly. But obviously, the better that we show you your programs, the better off you'll be. The one thing that is going to affect is you'll be able to submit your shows in many more different types of file formats and codecs. MPEG-4, H.264, and QuickTime files will be accepted, whereas before obviously we only accepted MPEG-2. The system will be much more reliable and more intuitive. Less equipment-based outages and errors. Obviously, if anybody knows me, you know that I don't make excuses for myself. If there's an error that I've made, I will own up to it. I'll definitely come to any sort of error. The system we currently have, the broadcast system we currently have, it's not good. And I hate to be as blunt as that, but it's just, there's a lot of problems in terms of the design of the software that this new system is going to change and is going to be able to fix. So it's going to be a lot more exciting for us than it is going to be for you. I'm sorry, Keith. I thought you were leaving. Number 2 is the studio lighting project. We, like I said, upgrading to a more efficient LED lighting system that can be dimmed, which is going to be a huge thing for everybody who produces. The one problem that a lot of people have is that the inability to dim a light is almost everything sometimes. You need to be able to dim a light in order to effectively produce a TV show. No studio downtime for this. Obviously, that's a big deal for you guys. The actual light that we're going to buy is called a Kino Flow Celeb, which is a very, very high quality light. It's dimmable, obviously. It's got the equivalent, and obviously The wattage is going to be different for LED lights. It's not going to be the exact conversion, but it's equivalent to a 750 watt tungsten soft light. It's energy efficient, both in electricity draw and studio cooling. Obviously, this takes a lot of energy to actually cool this, especially when we have all the lights on in the studio. So the one good thing about this is going to be very, very cool with the touch. The one thing that I don't have on here but is very important is that in addition to the dimming of the lights, it's also going to have the ability to adjust the color temperature. So the need for any sort of gels will be no longer that important because you can adjust the color with a flip of a knob, which is going to be huge. Number 3, the production studio equipment. This is going to be the only one that's going to create some studio downtime. Because of we're still in the process of nailing down specific dates for this. We don't know exactly when this is going to be, but we will have a maximum of 2 weeks studio downtime for installation. And so what that's going to mean is that it's potential of somebody's shoot might have to get postponed or canceled for that specific week. We'll do our best to make sure that we give you as much notice as we possibly can, but just the way that we're trying to install this as efficiently as we possibly can, we might have to take somebody's studio time, which we don't want to, but ultimately it's going to be the best for everybody if we are able to get in when we need to. The system is centered around the NewTek TriCaster 855, which is a completely digital switching system that not only does the switching, which we have right now, we have an analog switcher, but it also does a multitude of other things, which I don't want to get into right now because there's just too many of them. But we're also using the Canon XF305 cameras, which is a completely new digital HD camera package. HD camera recording. One of the things that this TriCaster is going to be able to give us is live green screen capabilities. Right now, for those of you who have used green screen here, what you'll need to do is record whatever you're going to be recording, and then in post-production handle the green screen. You'll no longer have to do that. It'll be done live, where you can actually put something the same way they do it in the weather shows. The other thing that this is going to be able to do is isolated camera recording. Right now, we record to one video track with 3 cameras. So back there, Eric is switching the cameras in the back, and he's deciding which camera is going to be chosen. Right now, camera 2. Right now, camera 1. With the isolated camera recording, I'm sorry, camera 3. Cameron, apologize. With the isolated camera recording, you'll be able to record all 3 cameras simultaneously, and then be able to go back if you want to, and you don't have to, but if you want to, you can go back and choose camera 2 at this point, even though we're on camera 1. So it's going to give us a lot more flexibility as far as what we want to do in post-production. We're also getting some wireless lavalier microphones in this package, which has been something that people have been asking for a long, long time. Obviously, when you mic somebody up with a cable and they want to move for any specific reason on the set, the last thing you want to see is them dragging a cable behind them. It completely pulls people out of the show that they're watching. In addition to the wireless lavalier microphones, we also are going to get wireless communication headsets for the crew. People will no longer be attached to the actual cameras themselves, free to move around to do anything they need to do other than operate a camera. So that's kind of the big one. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more dealing with that project, but those are kind of the bullet points. I spoke about the studio video monitor project. Obviously, no downtime. HD monitors will be mounted on the ceiling, and the audio monitors will be mounted on the walls out of the way. Digital sign-in project, no studio downtime, obviously. It's going to be a tablet-based touchscreen system, so you'll basically need to, same way you operate an iPad or any sort of tablet, basically signing digitally, and it's going to be a green way. It won't need paper to won't be wasting trees. A green way to track visitors. Easily searchable record for us. It's going to be huge so that we can go in and say, okay, who was here when, be able to see who is coming and going. From my point of view, it's going to be very, very good as far as tracking is concerned. The this is another thing that we don't necessarily have all the details worked out, but the potential to add an automatically printed name tag. A lot of you guys have name tags. What would be nice is if when you sign in, your name tag automatically prints out. That's something that we're looking to add with this new system also. I mentioned this, the editing software project. Obviously, no studio downtime. System based on Vegas 12. The good thing about this system is that it's got a faster video processing element to it. So when we get HD video, Vegas 12 will be able to easily take care of that editing. The other good thing about Vegas 12 is that you can import projects from other editing software packages. Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro can be easily imported into Sony Vegas. So if anybody brings a project from another system, you can bring it into our editing suite and import it into Sony Vegas. Same way as always. And then we have the staff that can help you out because we know Sony Vegas. So that's it. This is the project timeline that we're looking at. Obviously, we don't have specific dates in place yet. However, we have the plan as far as whenever we're ready to go as soon as we can get the equipment. We're working with Mary and the rest of Metro ITS to get the equipment purchased. Obviously, we're looking for bids and looking for the best deal so that we can not waste money, and looking to move in and install the equipment as soon as possible. The longest project, I think, is going to be the broadcast, only because it requires the biggest learning curve. Now, a lot of times, what you'll probably be asking, a lot of you guys are probably thinking, I'll just touch on this before we move ahead, is the training, how you guys are going to be trained. Because a lot of you guys who have come through, have taken the classes already, we obviously are not going to charge anyone again for studio classes. Those classes will be given to all current producers coming in and taking those when you are available. The schedule for that is still kind of being worked out. Trish and I are talking about, when we're going to move those two. We are trying to work it out so we don't have to stop new producers from coming in. We got to continue to grow. We don't want to prevent people from becoming NECAT producers. We want as many people as we can. However, we don't want to take studio days away from you guys for shooting. So that's kind of a challenge, but we're working towards making sure that we can offer both current and new producers classes. Okay, so I guess we'll move ahead to the Q&A portion. TC, or I'm sorry, not TC, that's a force of habit. Joel, would you like to come back up?
As the great philosopher Jerry Clower said, whoa, that's a lot of good stuff. For you older folks, you know who I'm talking about.
I have no idea.
Let's give a big hand to John, because he makes a difference here every day. All right, it's time for you guys. This is where the transparency starts. We've opened our kimono, you open yours. Tell us what's going on with the producers and the technicians and all of that. Who wants to go first? Because I know last time we're very active. Now to do this, we got to be able to hear you. And to do that, I'm assuming that's what this microphone is for.
Exactly right.
So, see, I did learn. Who's going first? Don't be shy. As TC said, these started out with little heated meetings, and now you're gone totally cool on us.
It doesn't have to be about the studio. It could be about anything.
Yeah. What we're doing, where we're going.
Life questions.
How we're doing it. Listen, I looked up the TriCaster equipment when John sent me the slide. I said, well, I want to know what this is about because I'm a big technical geek kind of person. And, man, go look it up. Google TriCaster 855 because it is amazing. You can load in teleprompting. You can load in all kinds of stuff, live video, the green screen. You can do your mixing on video and audio right there. White balance. I mean, he's right. There's too much to talk about.
And I don't want to oversell it, but it's going to be a game changer for the studio. I mean, things are going to be moving in a much more technology based state after we get the new TriCaster. I mean, it's going to be pretty remarkable. I'm excited.
Cool. And I bet if you go to that website, there's an owner's manual out there, so you could go ahead and read up on it. I'm going to.
I have a question.
Jennifer.
I'm so excited about the mics, the wireless mics. That's wonderful. Also, the lighting. Will we need to have training on that new lighting gadget you have? And will that be mounted, or is it a floor thing? Or what
right. I assume you're talking about the LED lighting system. Yeah. You will need training for that, and we are going to offer that obviously for free.
Okay.
We'll probably end up trying to incorporate that into the other studio classes that we're going to be offering. The good news, which I didn't include this in the presentation, but the good news is that the lighting, the way it is, I mentioned that it was dimmable, but what I didn't mention is that it will also be dimmable via remote control in the control room on a computer. So you'll be able to control the lights, the intensity, the dimmable lights in the control room the same way that most studios do it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Here we go.
The lady back here in the back that told me she had a bunch of questions. Joan?
If you could please come
You
up
gotta
here,
come up
Joan
here so
Warner.
we can hear.
We're filming this.
You thought you were just going to sit back there and I forgot about talking to you, didn't I?
Right here,
Go to the microphone.
please.
Get a whole
Well,
list of questions.
We like everybody that y'all have on board. Y'all done really great.
Get up close. Get up close to that mic.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay. I'm concerned about when we have singers in the release forms. Like, do we go to the publisher? Do we go to the performer? Do we go to the songwriter? Do we go to the studio?
I think that's being researched as we speak. Actually,
That's been a huge topic in the last couple weeks. Trish has been researching that pretty heavily.
I think Friday we had Trish had a meeting with the lawyer. You want to update us here?
So the big answer is we don't have the answer yet, but I asked several questions of a music licensing attorney on Monday, and she's learning how music licensing applies specifically to the kind of station that we are, because we're not PBS, they got special good deals, and we're not network, they got bad expensive deals. We're somewhere outside those two more easily understood buckets. And so as soon as I have answers, believe me, I'll be sharing them with everybody. And if it's something that involves changes to how we've been doing things all these years, she'll come and teach a class for us, like the lighting and the green screen and all that. So don't worry, we'll give you everything you need to know as soon as we understand it too.
Well,
Great question.
Should I pull the shows that I have singers
No,
on?
no, not
Okay.
at all. In fact, I asked that very same question.
Okay.
And she said, let me just learn things, don't panic, keep doing what you're doing, and she'll be back with us quickly.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you for caring
And then the other
about
one is
that.
on the teleprompter. How are we going to do the teleprompter?
The teleprompter will be done the exact same way it's done now. It'll be on camera. Well, I guess we could talk about maybe switching to a different camera. There have been talks of some people asking us to move to the camera 2, which I'm not opposed to. We could definitely talk about that. But it'll be operated the same way that it's operated now.
So it's one teleprompter, right?
We will still have one teleprompter.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, it's fine. And then the last question I have is like, if we have hosts and they go out into the public and they're interviewing the public, they have to have release forms signed, right? And if they fail to do that, then we can't put the show on the air, right? That means we can't even put it on the internet until it's on the air, right?
I think that Trish could probably answer this also, but I think that what you should realize is that you are ultimately responsible for your show. So if there is a question about somebody not agreeing to be on your program, then that will ultimately come back to you in some way. So it's up to you whether or not you feel as though that's important enough to pull your show from the air. And I think I've answered that question for you in private, but I think maybe Trish has a different opinion.
I have a thought on it. It's not definitive, but I think that's what our broadcast agreement is intended to take care of. Am I right, attorneys on the board?
Ultimately, it falls on the producer, and that's what we try to stress here, because we're teaching you not only how to do TV shows here, but a trade to use elsewhere. And at the end of the day, you're the producer, you're the boss. Everything falls and arises and falls with you. If there is a question I would say the better practice is to get waivers. It's not detrimental, but again, at the end of the day, if there is a problem, it's going to fall on you. So I would say the better practice is if you
Right.
can get waivers.
And I've talked to Joan about this before, and just so to update everybody else, it's a situation where the person has agreed to be on the air. It's just that they have not signed a waiver. So in that case, you can air them on TV and then get the waiver and afterwards. You don't have, just because you don't have a waiver doesn't mean you can't put them on the air. It would only be a problem if they, for some reason, do not want to be on the air.
Yeah, well, that's what I was concerned about. That if they got bad press later on, then I would be faced with the legality. And I think I talked to Jeremy about it, and Jeremy said that it would be that he didn't really much care to have it on the air unless I had release forms. Is that correct, or did I? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. If there's any question, then I guess it'd be better to pull the show.
Well, you never know if there's a
Right.
question.
There's always better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Next.
I'm Becky Mayer, and I don't have Comcast. I live in Davidson County. I have AT&T. I would love to be able to watch my own program, Transitions, on AT&T. What's up with that lately?
Yeah, we are very, very close to getting AT&T. I've had conversations with them, and it should be. I mean, we've been saying this for a long time, and we have no control. Obviously, it's all up to AT&T when they send their people over. But we are actively in communication with them, and we will hope to be on AT&T Uverse, within this year. I am hoping. And again, I'd like to give you definitive. I'd like to give you a definitive answer. I can't, only because we're at their mercy, because it's their equipment they're installing. But they've agreed.
In just the 8 weeks that I've been here, there have been AT&T installer guys in the building a dozen times in the 8 weeks that I've been
Right.
here.
They have a
More
process, and they're installing their equipment. It's just taking time because I think that they want to be as thorough as they possibly can. I assume that's the only reason I could think of why they would take, however many years it's been. Well, I guess we originally had a disagreement with them not agreeing to replace the equipment if it were to break, but that agreement has been solved, and so now they are installing the equipment. It's just taking time.
Okay, so they've been in the building installing equipment, but
They
we don't
have.
know when it's finished.
Right, because
That's good.
and not to bore anybody, but they don't have one person that's going to be, oh, I'm going to put you on AT&T today. They have separate people that are doing different tasks. That the ultimate goal is to get us on AT&T. And to be honest with you, most people that come in, they don't really even know what their purpose is. They don't know what the overall goal is. They just know what they're there to do, which is install this one piece of equipment. And they say, what do you guys do here? And I'm like, well, how do you not know that? You're here to give us on.
Duh.
So I think that they've got their procedure, that everybody's got their own playbook, and they're running theirs right now.
Okay, thanks.
Good question.
Thank you, baby.
Speaking to that, we are on a service called TDS, which is another cable service, which I assume absolutely no one has, because I've never heard of it. But they apparently do broadcast in Davidson County, so we do. We are pretty much. I think we're on that service now because they have installed their equipment just this past week.
Nice.
TDS, yeah. Mario, yeah. That's right. Go ahead.
All right, I just want to speak. First of all, I want to thank John for his hard work getting all this new equipment in. It's a task.
Well, it was hard work for all of us, Mario, even you.
Absolutely. And speaking on that, I had just asked him about what the possibility would be for us to get new computers. I know that we got some budget restraints or whatever, but I would just like to make a plea from a person who works with technology on a consistent basis. This is something that if you would find it in your hearts to kind of give us, it would be greatly appreciated, because it's a competitive situation out here, and the better computers we have, the more we'll be able to, I would say, keep up with the technology, with the trends or whatever, because that's what I'm about. So hopefully, we'll pray or whatever, you guys will kind of
And
see fit to give us some.
I think that you're asking the people that are on our side. They're looking to get our equipment for us. Also, the thing is, we had a long list of equipment, and some of the things that we had in mind didn't exactly get on this time, but they will eventually get on the list of things that we're going to be purchasing. So
Hopefully.
have no fear, Mario. The computers will be here soon.
Mario,
And it's not this money. It's the capital money. The distinction is that what you were going to say?
that.
You're at the mic. You go.
Oh, okay. The money that NECAT has is for operations, and the money that Metro has from Comcast and AT&T is for equipment. So when John was saying it was on this list but it didn't make it there,
Right.
we'll continue to make a plea. But what I will say is most every donation starts with a wish. And the wish needs to be written down and sent in so that we know that need is there, because you never know when somebody's going to say, I'd like to give you this. We say, funny you should say that, I've got it.
Okay.
And we can give them the spec. So if you'll spec that out, let us know what it is. We'll approach IT&S, we'll approach CATV first, because that's our source. And if that doesn't work, we can work toward getting it donated, assuming that fits all the criteria.
All right.
So let us know and write it down.
Good work, John.
Thank you, Mario.
And great work, Mario. We got
Yeah, I
one
think we
in
had a
the
question
back.
back here first, yeah.
All right, not to be a troublemaker. My first meeting, and I'm going to ask a not so fun question, but I don't understand something you guys were talking about earlier, the money from Comcast. Why is it that Comcast can tell us how to spend the money when they're the ones in the franchise agreement that have to give the money to us? How can they tell us how to spend it? I just kind of don't understand that. And
Would anybody like
Maybe
to?
Mary could probably handle that one.
Mary, can you step to the microphone and address that, maybe? Good question.
Luckily, we have someone here that can answer that question.
Really short. Well, I wouldn't say that. I don't know how familiar everybody is with the extent of those franchise agreements, but it took us more than 2 years to work through the legalities of renewing a contract that had been in place for 15 years. And so, and that was the very first one ever done. So we learned from that experience. We hired professionals. We did all the right things. And on those, Comcast sets a lot of the rules. So they're giving us money, which is set forth in those contracts, and then we have to do some of the guidelines that they set. And they said, you can't, pay the bank your bank statement amount or pay your telephone bills. Those things have to be done through fundraising. And then the things that we will agree to do with those monies is improvement of your equipment and anything that's considered capital. And a lot of times that capital is not just equipment, but maybe it's training classes. You can package it in a lot of different ways. Like, I want to take this opportunity to say how important it was that John put those together in those project packages, because then that makes it understood. And, this is 1 year of the money. Then next year there'll be additional money. So that agreement,
so
like I said.
what you're saying then is that when the franchise agreement was renewed, that's when it changed. Because in the old
Yes.
franchise agreement,
Yes. Yes.
we were in control.
Yes. To a point, I think when Metro first went into those franchise agreements, there's a lot of FDA stuff here too, because franchise agreements, if you look back in the 90s, that's when they started. And there weren't that many cable customers, and they didn't think that 5% was a lot of money. And so I think over the 15, 16 years that we've been dealing with this, we've learned.
Yeah.
And they have too. So, like I said, it's a negotiation to come to that agreement.
Okay.
And-
And I also wonder how AT&T got started without a franchise agreement being in place.
There isn't a
Which-
franchise agreement with AT&T. It's at the state level. And so there is a franchise agreement that we ride off of. So they did all the negotiation with AT&T, and then we get to benefit from it. But again, that one was written for capital money as well.
Okay.
as someone who lived with this for those whole 2 years and screamed and hollered about it for those whole 2 years and asked the same questions, like she said and she spoke to, the trend was, first of all, as much as we're grateful for Comcast, let's be realistic. Comcast would love to have the space that you guys utilize because they could sell it to somebody who would bring in more revenue. They have to. It's legal. Like you said, they have to provide those stations. And their lawyers looked at it over the years and said, what does have to supply mean? And have to supply means the facilities, the equipment, and that's what have to supply means. There was also a trend, like she said, in the 90s where people started abusing money that was given for other than capital uses. Not just here in Nashville, though we have our own sordid history of these organizations and abused money, but nationally. And so it was able to justify putting it in place, saying, we're not going to give you money anymore that you go give to your Aunt B to watch TV all day, and then you come back and ask for more next year. No, we're not going to do that. And if you look at the letter of the law says we don't have to. We just have to fund you. One of the commitments we've made, too, is to, now that the franchise deal is in place, is to let Comcast know that we're good stewards of the channels, too, and that this is a worthy part of the community, that it's a worthy investment for them to put their money, to put their time, put their energy, and that the value of what they're putting out there will also in some way come back to them. And so that's why we work as hard as we do, as making the station stand up on its own and do our own fundraising. It's why we work as hard as getting the new equipment in here to get the quality of programming better and do all that stuff so we don't just become this crazy wilderness over there that they just go, oh, here's the money, just don't talk to us. And so that's the short of it.
Always good to have great historical knowledge in the organization. Any other questions? Oh, Mike.
Big Mike.
Come on up.
Well, let me get to Mike back down where I can get to it, because I don't know why they let all these tall people go. John, you're one of us. What's the deal?
All right. Look at me. I got my mic down.
My name is Mike Jennings, and I've been, I guess, associated with one of these outfits since about '99. So one of my questions is, then I've got a couple of other comments to make, but our goal here is to put our programs together and get them out. This end of its goal is to get more producers in so we get more shows and we get more revenue, which means this becomes vital space. Most people who produce shows work for a living. A lot of them do it Monday through Friday. Our weekends is when we do our hobbies, and to me this is a hobby because I don't make any money from it. Matter of fact, I spend money every time I tape. So my question is, which we brought up, can we not shift our operations to like Tuesday through Sunday? Can we not have this station open Saturday and Sunday for people to tape versus being open on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when most people are at work? If we're dealing with kids like I am, because most of my shows, they come from all over the country, literally 43 different states so far it's been on my TV show. They all come in on the weekend, and there's only so many Saturdays each month. What, 15, 20? 4, sometimes 5. A lot of people want those Saturdays and Sundays. Just my question, can we not look at shifting our days of operation a little bit closer? And I know that Metro normally don't work on Sunday because there's no hospitals opening, nobody does electric, water people are not there, no police officers. Yes, they do. A lot of Metro works on Saturdays and Sundays. And some of these people work on Saturdays and Sundays because they've got that much work to do. They don't necessarily get paid for it, but they're there. That's just a question that I had. Can we seriously look at shifting our hours of operation to include Sunday so that we can utilize this studio?
I can answer that.
Huh?
I can answer that question unless you have anything else.
Just
Because it's really a question for me because, well, I'm the one who would make that decision to be open. Because it's just, you don't need the NECAT to be open. You need the studio to be open. So that would be a decision for me.
Okay. Well, then we'll discuss it later.
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead and give an answer?
Now I know who's got it. All right.
He's holding the potato right now.
I can field it after you're done with the rest of your question. Yeah.
One of the other things was we were talking about consent, and you've also got the implied consent. When somebody sees that you're filming them, they pretty much know you're doing it because they're talking into the camera. And I try to get releases on everyone, but I have talked to my daughter, and she said it doesn't matter what they sign. If you make millions of dollars off your show, they're going to come back and want part of it and get it. And I said, okay, then here's what I'll do. I'll let them have all the money I make off my show. So where do I get my check for my show? Because I need to share it. But anyway, I also, if I go out and tape people, what I do is when I start the camera, I say, you do know that you're on TV and this will be shown on Channel 19. They say yes. We start. I've got it. Now, whether it's binding or not legally, I don't know. But then again, if they win in court, they can have all the money I make off Nashville Spotlight. So I won't even share. I'll just give them every bit of it. So that was my only thing. I'm done.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. I'll talk a little bit about the Sunday thing. And again, Mike's not the first person to have brought up Sunday. There's been some demand for being here on Sunday. And I would love to be open Sunday, and I've tried to work it out in the schedule to open up on Sunday. The problem in the past when I've been I look at the schedule, is we leave ourselves open somewhere else. And I know your suggestion was to close down Monday. There are people who can only be here Monday also, and that would be basically shunning them at that point. And so there's going to be somebody that's going to be upset no matter what day we close down. There's no way we're going to be able to be open 7 days. One thing we did look into is cutting back on the daytime hours, because obviously more people shoot at night than at daytime. The problem with that happened because my responsibility is also with broadcast, also with organizational things, the daytime hours, I need to be here for day-to-day operational things that need to happen. We run the on-demand service, we run all the broadcast stuff, and so there will be no time to take care of those really, really important tasks. And again, I'm going to continue to look at Sunday to hopefully be eventually open Sunday. It's just that it's going to require it's going to require shutting somebody down for the day and time that they want to shoot. But again, I'm all for being open Sunday. It's just that it just doesn't work in the grand scheme of what we need to do in the studio, unfortunately.
Not the right answer that you wanted to hear, but an answer.
Yeah,
and we are working on it, being creative ways to get around that. It's also been one of my questions, and John and I have worked through different scenarios, and we're just going to keep hammering on that door till it opens up. Anybody else? Cameron, come on up.
Yeah, usually I'm behind the camera, not in front of it. The union guy that I am, my biggest question, I guess, the work that's going to be sent out to bid. Since this is part of Metro government, will this be prevailing wage work?
Prevailing wage? I guess I'd have no idea what that is.
That's generally part of when government hires contractors to do the work. It's usually paid with prevailing wage. Okay.
Mary, perhaps you might be able to field that one.
I'll probably answer it at a higher level because we're required, because we are part of Metro, to follow the, okay, I'm a little taller than that. We're required to follow the procurement rules, which is up to a certain amount of money, we have to get 3 bids. Up to a higher level of money, we have to get 3 written bids. If it's 10,000 and over, purchase from the same entity, so that's why John's packaged them. Then we have to go through the procurement policy of either requesting information or requesting bids. So we will put together the package of what we're requesting, and if that's equipment and installation or equipment installation and training, if that's the package, we will bid that, and then we will take those bids based upon what comes in from the vendors that we're going to send to. And anybody that's registered as a vendor that can provide that service and or equipment, that we're asking for a bid on, then we'll award it that way.
I'm just concerned about the labor portion because like at the convention center, it was supposed to have been prevailing wage, and like Roswell Drywall did not pay prevailing wage, and I just want to make sure this is whoever does the physical work.
So I think I guess we don't know the answer to that question only because we don't know if we're going to be getting a third party to do the labor.
Right.
It potentially could just be the staff here that is installing
Okay.
all the equipment. And so I guess we're still in the process of pricing all that out.
Yeah, or whoever sells the equipment, sometimes they want to install it themselves to make sure that we get the appropriate warranties or whatever. So do we have a definitive answer to that? No, and you're actually a little higher than my
Okay.
knowledge about labor. Sorry.
All right. Thank you very much. That's my main thing.
Thank you, Cameron. Earlette?
It's something I'm concerned about. You were talking about raising money and getting sponsors. To what extent, say I'm a producer for a show, and I use musicians and writers and performers. To what extent can you get a sponsor to go? Can you get a sponsor to sponsor someone, or sponsor a group? I know like they have the public television through the states, they have shows where they sell tapes and records and old music, new music.
I think sponsors are always encouraged, but I think that what Joel and maybe and Trish will probably tell you is that the producers are required to kind of get their own sponsors for their own show. Are you asking for your show specifically?
Yes, for my, I'm sure other producers probably wanted the same thing. What can I offer someone to sponsor my group? Like I'm going to I can say to them, I want you to sponsor my show, and they say, what you going to do for me if I sponsor your show?
So you can mention their business on your show. Say this program is brought to you by, and then mention their business on your show. You can put up their website at the bottom of the screen so that people can go to their website and find out more information. What you cannot do, obviously, is any sort of call to action. You can't say anything about the services or products that they offer in any sort of commercial way. But you can mention their business, and they can get their name out there as somebody that supports your show and in the arts in general. And you know, it would be good. You know, getting their name out there is you know, I'm not a expert in PR, but it'd be good PR.
Okay, well, that's what I was concerned about. Thanks a lot.
You betcha. Anybody else? We've creeped up on 7:30. I believe it's about 7:35, but if we have any other questions, we'll be happy to take them.
All right.
And here comes our next question.
Trish, my question is, John.
Okay.
Because I know since I've been a part of this, I'm a very new producer, but I'm always trying to think of ways for our children to do something better with their time. Why can't we go to the schools that have drummer classes or any kind of TV technician classes that we can't do, speak in front of them to try to get them to be a part of producing?
Do you mean, for example, if you, Catherine, wanted to make a show with some kids performing?
Did she say Catherine?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Sure, you could absolutely go out and seek talent, like the gentleman who was just up here a moment ago talking about. If you want to include children in your show, I think that's wonderful. The only element in what you said that might not work is if you were to go to a high school or middle school drama class and want to film a play that they're already doing. That play probably has rights attached to it, which wouldn't let us. But if you wanted those little actors to be involved in something you're cooking up, I think that's a lovely idea.
Yeah, that's good. But what I was referring to is getting them to come to produce a show to classes.
So yeah, I think
like
what
go to the classes, like drama classes, that might be at. I was going to ask the guy at Hillwood, but I guess
I was going to ask him too. That's exactly how I was thinking.
Well,
Oh, his
Yeah.
colleague's still here.
Well, we could do an assembly.
Here's what we're adding to Metro Schools is funding for field day. And Hillwood's right around the corner, and it would be pulling teeth to get a busload of drama class to come here. There is some issues with funding. But
Can't we come to them instead? Like somebody represent 'em?
his name is David also, and David Mulford. We would love to have speakers come to the schools because we've already discussed how the schools are having difficulty coming.
Right, right.
And they have content to deliver to NECAT, so there's some partnership that's going there. But I think the actual mechanics of doing a field trip to here was almost impossible. But the reverse of that, certainly welcome any ideas.
It's good timing that you bring it up. Tomorrow morning, I'm actually meeting with your colleague there and maybe you at 10:30 at Hillwood. Okay, maybe I'll see you, maybe I won't. But with the teachers of children who are in broadcast classes. So it's touching some on what you're talking about there. And I'll learn more about how that works tomorrow.
Yeah, so we can go to their school and they can, be a part of wanting to take a class, buy one, get one free, maybe they friend. It keeps them busy and something
John,
to
if
do.
you feel all right with, is there a certain young age limit?
We have no age limit. We'll accept anybody. But I think what happened, we had some students from Hillwood come over and take classes, and I think one of the things that scared them away is that our equipment wasn't exactly a 21st century equipment. And so they're used to using their iPhones and their iPads and
Right.
getting things instantly.
Yeah.
And maybe they were probably I know they were a little bit turned off by that. I think that these upgrades in equipment is definitely going to help us reach a younger audience
Yeah.
because they're going to be more into what we are going to be able to offer in the future. And I think that's going to help us out with a relationship with a lot of the high school students.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
And
you.
we do have a good Excellent. And these are the folks to talk to because that's a daily operations issue. And we already have a good working relationship with the Metropolitan Nashville Public Schools. So I don't think it's a far stretch to get to where you want to go.
I think the big thing, in my opinion, is just exciting those kids. Those kids, it takes a little bit to excite them. They got, lots of stimuli in their sights.
We as a board really want everyone that wants to be involved with NECAT to have the opportunity. So if there is someone that you guys know that wants to take the classes for producing or editing and they simply cannot afford it, please let Jeremy know, and we as a board will do what we can to provide a scholarship. That's something that we really, really want to do. So don't let money hold someone back from being a part of NECAT.
Thank you. I know everybody appreciates that.
And that goes with the NECAT TV is for the people, by the people. I mean, everyone should have an opportunity to learn this trade.
So good evening, John. I'm a new producer. So, and my wife and I did some education program when we were in Florida. So, and I was told one of my church pastors that there's a Channel 19 program that's going on for a community. So that's good to know, and thank you for you guys for doing all those such it's a non-profitable thing, and that is a very great thing. It's a really challenging fundraising and doing all those things. And the immediate question is that came into my mind is this studio can do live broadcasting?
Good question. The answer is yes. We can do live broadcasting. And we do, Catherine mentioned, we do a live show second Sunday of every month where we do an hour from 8 until 9 p.m. where we broadcast live on Channel 9.
So I can come and do my break dance. Thank you.
Yeah. We're looking for talent.
And the second question is, from this like 2013 to 2014, do you have any wish list, the top priority that this community is looking for? Looking for some show, and then this is the show the community is looking for right now. as a top priority, do you have any list that I can found in the website or anything? So.
I mean, in my opinion, what I think makes the best show, and I don't think I don't have any specific answer for you, but I'll tell you exactly what I think would be a good show is, and this is going to probably sound a little bit cliche or probably it sounds like a cop out, but it's really not. What in my opinion would a good show would be whatever you're most interested in would make the best show. Because if I sit here and I say, oh, we need a show on this, you might produce a few episodes and maybe you produce it for a long time. But the stuff that really makes the best show is the stuff that you're passionate about. Yes. Because that's when you can really engage people and make them want to watch it, is if you can express what you're passionate about, you can convey that passion. So it's probably, you're not looking for that, you're looking for something specific, but at the same time, I think that you should look no further than what you want to make a show about. That's why we're here, is for you to make a show for whatever you want to make a show about, yes, whatever you're passionate about.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Vicki. Sure.
Okay, somebody was just asking about sponsors before, and I just wanted to know, are the protocols of sponsorship on the website that we can look at in more detail?
Yes,
I have
they absolutely
several
are.
questions, and I don't want to go into that right now. Also, who do I do my show out of the studio for the most part at this point, when I actually get around to doing it. Who do I talk to about scheduling?
Studio time or
just the air
on the air time?
Yeah, just to clarify where I'm at and how.
If you're looking to increase your airtime, that would be Jeremy. If you're looking to just find out when you're on TV,
that's listed on the schedule.
That's listed on the website, but I'd be happy to go over that with you, and as soon as we're done here, I can take you in and show you exactly where you stand as far as when you're on the air. It's on the website, but I'll show you where it is.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes. Only because it might be brilliant and we might want to record it and rebroadcast it.
This is something I asked Kim and maybe asked Trish, is demographic data. Are we going to have, is this the year that we'll have any kind of demographic data? Who's watching? The point of Metro Schools is to serve the underserved. And how many eyes are on the sets? What times are they watching? I know Nielsen wouldn't involve themselves with, but is there any kind of demographic data that you are all looking forward to getting this year that we haven't had in the past? Or is that like a pipe dream?
Well, I assume in the past, I think it's always been an issue with funding, with the lack of funds. Obviously, Comcast tells us that they're unable to pull the data for whatever reason, and so that may or may not be true. But I think with enough money, we could probably either get Comcast to tell us what the data is or find somebody that can track that data for us. But as is right now, we don't have access to any sort of demographic data from Comcast. And maybe AT&T would be a different story, who knows, but
put an
currently
intern
we
on
don't have
from
the ability
Hillwood,
to do that.
Maybe an intern from Hillwood would want to do that.
It's on our wish list for sure.
It is a wish
because
list.
it helps us tell the story.
Yeah.
We hear about that from people at a higher pay grade than ourselves, and who's watching, why do we do this, and we know why we do it, but if we could say how many eyes were on the sets at a certain
And again, it's a way to excite the kids, and those kids need to be excited. They need to have something to root for, something to work for.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the pizza.
You bet. Anybody else? Well, I'd like to leave you with a few words, and I want to ask the board, did anybody else have anything they want to share? Mary? Nobody? Okay. Well, as we did 3 or 4 years ago, we're at a place of change. No organization gets better without change. But with change comes fear. And I have a little acronym for fear too. Face it. If you're scared of something that's coming up, or you don't understand something, tell us. We probably have the answer, and if we don't, we need to get it, because you're probably not the only one. Once you've faced it and shared it with us, let's explore it. The E, explore it. What is it? How can we fix it? We're going to be using new equipment. All of us are going to have to explore something. We're going to have to read manuals. We're going to have to get in here and learn it. And we're going to act on it. And the beautiful part is, once we faced it, explored it, and acted on it, we're going to reward ourselves because we're going to have better shows. And that's what it's all about. And so if you think about it, if you embrace this change, it will carry us to the next level. And everybody in this room wants to be at the next level, and everybody in this room wants to be done with analog, because we're probably the only people that still say the word analog. And what that requires is the vision that we have for this. And there's 2 points I would make. We want to be stable financially, and that's going to take everybody in the room pulling in that direction. And we want to be the best in the nation. You know, there was some president, I'll call him Kennedy, that said we want to put a man on the moon and bring him back. And people thought he was crazy. And we did it. And we did it so well that over the years it became commonplace. This station can be the best in the nation, but we have to go out and do it. We are the ones that make this difference, not us, not you, it's not I, it's a we. We can make this station what it can be, and I want you to join us in getting that done through good, consistent shows, through helping us find people who will donate, for the board to lead in that direction. And the board is trying to lead in the direction that you guys need to go, so that requires communication. So if I would say anything, please ensure you communicate. If you have issues, tell us. Give us details. Don't be random about it. Tell us what you're feeling, what you need, and what we can do about it. Bring us solutions, because one thing's for sure, through the other change, we had some griping, I'll call it, but there weren't solutions. We got through it. This time we can do it even better and get through it quicker if we all bring solutions. You have valid concerns, and we want to address them, and we will make something happen. Some will be happy, some may not. But regardless, we'll move through the change, and we'll hit this high-definition age, and everybody's smile on their face tells me that you're ready for digital high definition, and I'm fired up about learning to produce shows on digital high definition. With that, I thank everyone in this room for joining us and sharing your thoughts, and please continue to share your thoughts with Trish and Jeremy and John and the board. You can always find us, and we're always there to help. You have to let us know. Thank you for your time, and safe travels home.